And welcome to the Club Racing UK podcast, brought to you in association with Silver Lake Automotive Recycling. Hello, everyone.
Good evening.
I have been looking forward to this episode to really give everyone a clear image of what people can do getting into photography. We can focus on the matter at hand and hopefully give everyone a real clear picture of what it's all about. Right, that's three. All right, I'm in the lead with 3 puns.
Oh.
I think we should stop with the puns.
As usual, I am your host, Robert Lewis, joined by two, if you're looking from the left of me, Stefan Marsh, and to the right of me, Nicholas Holmes. And
hello, everyone.
Joining us this evening is Katie Rose of KRF Photography, Rob Willsmore, and Chris Pearson. How are we doing, guys?
Superb.
Good.
Right, thanks.
Is it warm enough for you?
Definitely.
It's really muggy.
It's properly muggy. I've got the fan next to me.
That's why I'm shiny. Look at me.
That's
Exactly.
why you're shiny, is it?
Oh, yeah.
That's why I'm shiny.
Oh, okay.
And the fact I've got a remote light that does all these fancy things, but I've turned it up so bright now that the remote doesn't work. So I'm stuck with it as bright as it'll go.
So effectively, what you've got is an easy bake oven on your head.
It's pretty much that.
Slowly crisping you from the top.
It's like having a miniature sunshine.
It is. The comments, gents, have started to get busy, so I'll just whiz through some of them as well. RTC Photography was here first. Carl Barton, second again, but he says, let's crack on. Good to see you, Carl. Frank Mead as well is here. Motor Racing UK, my balls are still sore. We're going to get to that because that is the most hilarious story from the weekend I've heard involving a photographer. So, Mick, we will come to your golden moment. Matt Cleary, right then this week we just go on and on about Rob winning a trophy. We're going to mention it. I'm not going to go too nuts on it. But yes, I had a very successful first race weekend back. Jason Stone, James Stone Street, Simon Gaskin, Colligan. Nick Prawnvore mentions it's a Team Prawn Racing orange top for Nick Holmes.
Oh, yeah.
And Frank Mead, it's really muggy. That's just where you live, Nick.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Absolutely. So, evening, guys. It is our photography episode, as I mentioned. But first, we're going to look at a bit of the news that's been going around the racetracks around the country. Yeah, pretty much.
Easy for you to say, Rob.
Easy for me to say. So basically, we're going to talk about news.
The news.
It's a good video, but I do need to shorten it.
Yeah,
I love.
you just sort that ending out as well.
Yeah,
It's
it's
amazing.
Yeah,
almost getting a groove on.
Pretty much. I think it was his own record in right. Can we just give a second to acknowledge Sebastian Vettel retiring? He's the last of the great drivers from Formula One. I know it's not club racing, but
Nothing to do with club racing.
It is nothing to do with club racing, but we have to show some love and acknowledgement because
he's a
club racing now.
Yeah.
We could invite him along. Maybe he could be our next guest on our next podcast.
Absolutely.
He's a top dude. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Only in the last 2 years, he was a prick before then.
Don't beat about the bush, though. See what you mean.
Well, you know.
I think, to be honest, I'll be honest. I think Steph's just sort of sitting on the fence a bit too much there. But yeah, I thought it's the first day he joins social media and everyone goes nuts, and then 5 minutes later everyone's crying. It was a bit surreal. But yeah, right. We'll just acknowledge that's a happy retirement, Seb.
Be like Fernando Alonso though, and he'll be back in a couple of years.
I don't think he will. For Alonso's just that's hanging on a bit too long now. And the amusing thing is, this does have sort of a club racing time with what's gone on with Oscar Piastri. All of the club racing teams now are putting posts out saying that he's now signed.
Yeah, but it's boring. Get your own joke.
Oh, come on. There's a bit of amusement in it.
No, it's not. The first 2 times was funny, but then when you see the same thing, this driver's... Shut up. Wasn't funny the first time.
Okay, fair enough. Moving swiftly on. Carl Barton, Steph's new True Facts feature is a winner. James Alford, Stefan, gold, harsh but fair. In the same way Nick looks like a traffic cone.
Why do I look like a traffic cone?
Do you think he was being a bit gingerish then?
No. He probably was, possibly. It probably was, but that is brilliant. Thank you. You've made my night now. Right, a bit of news that emerged from the BARC this morning is that the Club 24 Hours at Anglesey has been postponed.
Yeah.
So the statement goes as such: British Automobile Racing Club and Club 24 Hour regret to announce the inaugural endurance race scheduled to debut at Anglesey Circuit September 23rd to the 25th has been postponed. A number of operational factors led to the decision, but plans are in place already for it to debut in 2023. Various quotes, very disappointed, number of obstacles they couldn't overcome. So hopefully at some point...
The entry list.
Well, I don't know. It could be that with what, unfortunately, we don't know the mitigating circumstances.
I would have liked to have seen how many people have entered for it, to be fair.
I was intrigued to see how well it was going to go.
I think it's a good idea, but...
I mean, we said it, didn't we? We said it on our 24-hour show. Like, there was hurdles for something, especially on its first time, and lots of multi-mark cars. It was quite a hot topic, actually, when we were talking about it. So it's a shame. As you say, they'll get it over the line. They will. I know they will. But
the only other thing, I know it's been beaten about so many times, especially in the past few months, is going to do a 24-hour race with the current fuel prices. That really jacks the price up of going racing. It's bad enough for the sprint races, let alone fueling a modified car. Even in something like a KA or a C1, it's still quite a hefty fuel bill just because of the price.
Maybe that's where Dark Side got it right. We should all get diesels.
I've got another solution. We should have a tanker class. So
Jesus
we should have a couple of tankers, just follow them, you know, like the medical car and stuff like that.
I'm pretty sure that one will go. Pretty sure. The fire risk. The fire risk.
Can you imagine that? Oh, he's tagged him. Oh, half the circuit's gone up.
Nothing ventured, nothing gained, everyone.
Well,
We're all about smart thinking and money-saving ideas here at Club Racing UK. So,
absolutely. Now, again, we have to be fair. A couple of comments have come in. So, the mental price tag. Matt Cleary does say, "Fuck, it's Steph Bruton tonight. Is he on his period?"
Ooh. I'm not sure I'd go that far.
I was going to say, James
Experience in the menopause.
James Stone Street as well. He's looked into it. He saw the price and stopped looking. I guess.
yeah, it's one thing I didn't. It's one thing I didn't actually look at. So.
What's the price? Someone put
So
the
what
price
was
down.
it?
I don't actually know the price, so if you have got a rough price tag for an entry list for it, let us know. Right, moving on to another endurance race news with Buck. They're actually going to close out the 2022 season in style later this year with the introduction of a brand new 110-minute endurance race, and it's that long to celebrate Buck reaching its 110th year of operating as one of the UK's biggest and best motor racing organisations. Get it out, Rob. Taking place at Brands.
Don't get it out.
Taking place at Brands November 12th and 13th, steady Nick. The 110 years of the Bark race will be open to closed-wheel production cars with teams able to have a minimum of 2, maximum of 3 drivers. The entry fees are being kept low with a 2-driver team costing 500 quid, but an extra 50 quid for the 3rd driver. And classes being dictated by engine size with further clarification to be provided nearer the race taking place. 20-minute qualifying session, 110-minute race, round the Indy layout of the Kent venue. Members of the clubs other than Bark will be allowed to compete. So, yeah, there you go. If you do fancy endurance racing.
Your tail's hanging out, mate.
My tail's hanging. No, we're babysitting little dog at the moment, so she's joined me on the... she's sulking at the moment. So, yeah, Ceci's joining me, and I think she wants to play the little git.
It just looked like your tail was wagging from behind you.
Rob's been a good boy.
Fair enough. Charlie did say, get the dog on camera. Don't you start. Come here. Oh, hang on. We've got a price tag.
Oh.
That is
include the car?
Well,
Is that per entrant or for a team for 24 hours?
That's surely per team.
I would have thought so. 4,800 is very respectful, I would have thought. So
yeah, that's not too bad for a 24-hour race if it's team.
Yeah, if it's per team
entrant.
If you split that between 4 drivers, that's very reasonable. Doing quick maths, 4 drivers, 1,200 quid each for the entry, fuel, tyres. So effectively, a shot in the
still
dark.
Horrendous.
Still horrendous. You're still looking at $2,000 each.
For a 24-hour race, yeah.
More. Again, we go back to the early podcast that we did where we talked about seat time versus pounds. So you're probably looking at that. Yeah. So you're probably looking at a good, decent couple of hours driving. You're looking at a couple of hours of qualifying practice. It's Anglesey, so they'll probably be very generous with the track time. It all adds up. But yeah, as Nick said, hopefully they get it over the line. And the other endurance race that we want to cover in the news, the BRSCC, the Race of Remembrance, their entries are now open.
That is one that absolutely we have to do it, guys. I'm sorry, we have to do that event one year.
It's something that needs to be done. So that it says the press release was as such. So the moment you've been waiting for has finally arrived. The BRSCC and Mission Motorsport are delighted to announce that entries for the 2022 Race of Remembrance at Anglesey are now officially open. This year's entries processed via the online race hub. So you're looking again. You can pay the deposit, which is 700 quid, for a total amount of 2,700. And that's quite a big endurance race at Anglesey. So split that between a load of drivers. So, it's an endurance race. It's always going to be a higher cost than sprints.
Have you got the date to hand there, Rob?
The date itself, I thought I had said that before. So it's November 11th to the 13th.
Oh, good. There you go, Steph. So if the Vectra is not built for the Burkett relay, we'll go do the Race of Remembrance instead.
It gives us like an extra 2 weeks.
Pick me up on the way and I'll take some pictures for you.
Yeah.
There we go. Right, so that's the end of the news in terms of endurance racing. So not much in terms of a race roundup, but I have got some good news. The Focus finished some races.
Yeah, it did.
And got a trophy. So
we need a.
well, this is very
good. My soundboard back out.
I know this is very good news, but it is also very bad news for me because we'll put up some nice pictures. I'm going to prolong it as much as I can because we've got some nice pictures. So there's me with the trophy, car on the trailer. She did me proud. Nearly didn't happen. Nearly didn't happen in race 1 because I had to start from the pit lane. I do have to say thank you to the wonderful boys and girls at the BRSCC because they saw I was in a bit of strife and they held it as long as they could, obviously without disturbing the timetable. They held everything as long as they could to try and get me out there while I bodged together some gear cables. So basically what happened after qualifying, everything's tickety-boo. I pull in, check everything else on the car, get in the car. I think I was just looking to move it forward or something. Went to put it into gear, and the gear stick was absolutely stuck solid. Could not move it. And what had happened is on the Focus, the gear cables come out of the bulkhead above the exhaust with heat shielding. But with the heat, the new cables had just drooped down, and one of them had rested on the exhaust, melted everything, got cold again, so it was just solid goop of nylon. And that was the end of that. So I started from the pit lane. And I have uploaded a bit of the live stream. It is fairly long, I will warn you. It's about a minute long. But if Steph could just put up the video. Steph?
What video?
It says
Steph was somewhere else.
Oh, yeah, sorry,
action.
Where's the audio?
It should have some audio on there.
Come on, Rob. Sound of that time.
I can't believe that.
Kaboom!
So to explain it, it says there was like 30 or 31 competitors on track. I believe it was 38. Certainly at the start of the weekend, it was 38. But I started from the pit lane.
38 at the end of it.
It wasn't 38 at the end. A few did drop out, but in race 1, I started in the pit lane, got through to 14th overall and 3rd in class.
Yeah, you did.
So got myself a trophy. Really happy about it. The car looks absolutely mega. Has Steph found a soundboard?
Yes, I have.
We're having to do it. Meow, meow. And Rob Lewis has gone for the overtake, and here he comes through Hamilton. Into whatever the next one
right,
is.
That's enough of that. Now, is that the noise that's made every time you go, oh, it's broken the belt again?
I don't know how to turn it off.
Right, now, the explanation behind the shoey. So at the start of the year, I don't actually know whose idea this was, gents? It might have been down.
It was ours. It was totally ours.
Was it ours? I can't remember.
I'm taking credit for it.
First of all, we need the viewers to take a poll. It's involving Stefan, and there's a bloody reason for that. But it was said at the beginning of the year, and we've had Dan Thackeray's on here already, and we need Nick Vaughan to do his shoeys because I don't think he's done his yet.
Yeah, he's not. I've not seen a shoey from him yet.
Yeah, and Nick Vaughan.
Calling you out, Nick.
If you are watching, you owe us a couple of shoeys because you've been very successful this year. So we don't care if it gives you poisoning. We need to see it. So tonight, I have to do a shoey because the rule is if you finish 3rd, 2nd, or 1st in class, overall, whatever, you have to do a shoey. So here's the proof.
So we said in the ambassador program that we've got running, obviously we got 3 great ambassadors with us this year. It was agreed between everybody for any trophies or any kind of podium finishes between any of our lot.
Yeah.
A shoey had to be done. So this includes us lot.
I remember James Alford. It was his idea.
No, he's not having it. He's got shit ideas, that bloke.
Nick, copyright theft is a very serious accusation.
Right, so now I'm prolonging this as much as possible because this is going to be disgusting. But I have my
Get on with it. So our poor audio listeners can't see this.
They can't see this, but as you can see, I've got my OMP race boot. Before I do this, Stefan finished 3rd in class at Anglesey. It was out of 3 cars, but he still finished technically on the podium and received a trophy as a result. So, ladies and gentlemen,
I lost, and I gave it to my fellow racing partner. So there's no proof I have it.
Ladies and gents, can you please comment?
Yes, there is. The video that was released last week, there's a picture of you two on the podium. There's all the proof you need.
So
I'm not boasting about it. I don't class it as a win.
So people, if you could just get into the comments, please. Does Stefan have to do a shoey?
For a third in class when there was only 3 cars.
It's not very special, is it? It's not something I want to boast about.
Right, let's get this over with. If you are of the squeamish nature, look away from the screen now, but here goes.
Rob is pouring beer into shoe.
I hope that's going all over your keyboard.
Rob is pouring shoe into face.
Rob
is making funny faces.
How is it, Rob? How is it?
Now he's sharing it with a dog.
Rob realizes just how salty that beer is now.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
Yeah, well done, mate. Let's give it to you. A shoey. You did it live on the show.
Thank you very much. That is the second most disgusting thing I've ever done.
Don't believe that for a second.
Makes that look well
better. Right, there are some comments that have just come up as well, so we're just going to sort through those because one of them is quite human. Right, going back to that, so I'll just get that done now. That tastes absolutely disgusting. Right, Matt Cleary, we want a sweaty boot. It was sweaty, trust me, I can taste it. Frank Mead, get it down here. Charlie McCready, Steph has to do one for being 3rd in class and another for being we'll just leave that there for our audio listeners. So that's one for you have to do a shoey, Steph. James Alford, no chance, traffic cone head. I claim the CRUK shoey. Stefan does a shoey. Ask Jeeves to chill the booth.
Is that what it is, Steph? You're concerned about getting beer on the carpet in the new wing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Carl
Barton,
giving them the night off. You don't want to clear up now.
Carl, that is unbelievable. I love that, mate. Thank you. James Stone Street. Steph, you're doing a bloody shoey. Matt Clear. Lee Mabbitt, Grim.
Yeah.
It's what we do. It's what we do. It tasted disgusting, but it's what we do.
We stick to our word.
We stick to our word. We do.
The thing is, Steph, look, you have to give in to the audience. As we've learned in previous shows, peer pressure works. I get bullied left, right, and centre on this bloody show.
Nick
your turn
to wear Speedo, so it's time for Steph to get the butler to put
come on, off you go. Go get your race boot and a beer. Off, come on.
That won't be happening tonight, I'm afraid.
You are right. On the next show, ladies and gentlemen, Steph will be doing a shoey.
Absolutely.
Or there will be a forfeit.
Oh, I think I'll have to do.
Honestly,
and we'll leave the forfeit up. We'll leave the forfeit up to the guests. Absolutely. By the end of the show tonight.
No, good one. He has to do a shoey on the shirt or a shoey on the next podium in front of everyone.
Ooh.
After just taking off that warm, sweaty boot.
Yeah, absolutely. Carl Barton does say as well, Steph to do the shoey, not his butler. James Outford, you haven't stuck to your word. Why aren't you wearing a Beetlejuice hat?
We haven't got to 600 subscribers yet, you tit.
And Tom Bratton says, Cobra, a fine choice up there with Prosecco. Jamie Peters Ennis, sorry I'm late. Evening, everyone. Rob, have you recovered from SNET yet? I have just about. I now need to recover from drinking that. It was rather chilly, wasn't it? Just a bit. 31 degrees in a black race car is not the one.
Yeah.
It was. The funny thing was, race 3, that was when it was at its hottest. So the air temp was 31, track temp was something like 46 to 48. And I'm stood in the collecting area with Anton Martin. We're the only two in the field with black cars, and we've both got black race suits on, and we just put our arm around each other and was like, what the fuck are we doing here? So
you weren't that hot if you were cuddling other guys.
Well, that's very true. That's very true. Right. So moving on. Sorry, I've got to get this taste out of my mouth. It just tastes like glory.
Salty taste.
That salty glory taste. Well, you can't talk because you chicken out of yours. Anyway,
I would do it, but I haven't got anything to put in it. So it'd be a bit pointless me pouring water into my boot and then drinking it, isn't it?
Yeah, true. Next episode then. Right. Moving on, because we've been terribly rude. It's 25 minutes into the show. We need to go to the main topic du jour, of course, which is photography, specifically in motorsport. Now, Katie, I know you do a lot of weddings, and the shots you do are absolutely outstanding.
I try and hide it. I try and hide the weddings. I do try.
Why though?
Oh, do a wedding? Honestly, any of you are invited to come along with me. Come to a wedding with me. I've done over 300-400 weddings myself. They change you as a person. You think customer service and retail or any bad job you can ever imagine or think of in your life you've ever done is bad. Weddings after COVID, brutal.
Times it by 100. I've done 3 this year. I said I was never going to do weddings, but I ended up doing 3 this year for friends of friends kind of thing. And it's probably the most stressful photography job you can do. So I applaud people that do it for a living.
This is natural. It's dyed. I'm grey underneath. I'm grey and white.
just gone. This is.
Yeah, so that's why motorsport wise, it's my escape. So I try and hide the weddings back and beyond, and then motorsport wise, it's like a day off. It's like freedom for me.
I like it.
So I'll put this question across to the three of you. Feel free, whoever, to go first. So what got you guys into photography with motorsport?
Go on, I'll jump in first. Okay, so for me, I'd been shooting for a couple of years, 2015, 2016, 2017-ish, and I saw a Facebook message, a Facebook post from a guy that lives up in Evesham. He was going to start his racing at Castle Combe, and he's a driver with cerebral palsy, and he was like, looking for sponsors, looking for support, blah blah blah. And I read his backstory and stuff, and I was like, that shit, I ain't got no money, but I can take some photos for you if you like. Okay. So I went along with him for the first race meeting. Hadn't been to Castle Combe for probably, I don't know, 10 years or so prior to that. And spent the day with him, taking pictures of him on track, and around the paddock and in the pits and stuff. And then from that moment, it was just like, okay, I remember why I love coming to the circuit now.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that.
So, Katie, what about yourself?
Childhood, really. My dad had bikes, cars, albeit not great choice in cars. But growing up, touring cars on TV, like
were they Ford?
This touring car was the one. This is the dream.
The Volvo 850, yeah.
So, like watching that era of touring cars come through, my dad had a passion for it. Watching that line come through in front of me, being youngish age, leaving college, I was just like, I knew I had to go self-employed and do something with cars, regardless how it started. I started off in the supercar industry with experiences. And from there, hosting, hospitality to media, because I always did media, and it just kind of jumped through hoops into the right people, presence, the environments, and I kind of just took on from that. But I was never a normal girl. I were always a tomboy, so to speak, and I loved cars, I loved petrol, and it were kind of that era of touring cars that got me hooked. It weren't anything much else. I loved BSB, always loved like superbikes growing up, MotoGP, loved watching Rossi and all them, and it were mainly the iconic ones, I think, for me, stuck in my brain. And then that were it. I knew I had to somehow get a revenue of going down that route. So whatever avenue I could, whatever jobs I took on, whether it were hospitality, whether it were hosting, whether it were just stood car parking, it were one of them where I'm like, I had to be involved somehow. And it kind of got you meeting the right people in the right environments to get you an access straight into motorsport. And I think that's where I kind of started. But yeah.
Okay.
Rob, what about yourself?
So mine was a little bit different in that motorsport's always been about for me, whereas the photography is kind of a new thing for me. I've always been a massive fan of motorsport. When I was younger, I wanted to work in motorsport. I went to university and started a degree doing motorsport engineering, but realized quite quickly that wasn't how I wanted to be involved in motorsport. I wasn't interested in just designing a wishbone or whatever. So I sort of just left that, didn't finish that, went into the world of work and just remained a motorsport fan for a decade. Found myself at a racetrack almost every weekend, but just watching. And one day, my partner, she brought me a camera, and I started taking photos whilst I was there. And then realised all of a sudden that actually I had a passion for that, and it went with the thing that I was yearning to get into somehow, but didn't really know how I wanted to get into. You know, I wanted to be involved in motorsport. It wasn't that I wanted to be involved in photography. But the two have come together really nicely. You know, I was taking the photographs for myself, set up an Instagram account, started putting them online, and then all of a sudden racing drivers were getting in touch with me and asking for my photos, and it's like you're almost starstruck, because you know, I was just a fan, and it's gone from there. You know, people start suddenly inviting you along to things to take some photos, especially when they know that, you know, as an amateur you're willing to do it for free. You hadn't heard of doing it as a job before. You know, everyone loves a free photograph. That's the problem.
Yeah.
That's the biggest suck point.
Yeah, that is the problem. I'm still in that phase of trying to make it go from being a hobby to being a professional. You know, I do work with the series, but you know, it's not a job for me at the moment. I have a day job. I do 5 days a week still. You know, but that's it. That's where I'm up to from now.
I like it. That's good.
Bearing in mind that's at the moment. Right, just to take a quick break there, guys. I've got 2 messages I just want to bring you from 2 people that have supported the Club Racing UK podcast since day one, and that is Hawk Motorsport. So at the moment they've got some great deals on, especially with Coden helmets. They've got the lovely range of rock tip bags as well, and they've also got things such as Nankang tyres, Nitron suspension, Cobra Sport exhausts. They're currently doing free delivery for all orders over 150.
He's starstruck by that. On the end. We got you. We do
you
orders.
Froze then, Rob.
I froze.
Yeah.
My internet's fine. I don't know what's happened there.
Just
Right,
as you
you
got
just
free
stop.
delivery.
Just because I got to what?
Free delivery. Like,
Oh God! So yeah, free delivery on all orders over 150 quid. My internet's fine, by the way. I don't know what the hell's happened there.
It's just
That
such a good deal.
starter ended in
It's
season
such
1.
a good deal.
Sky Broadband definitely ended in season 1. So yeah, it's www.hawke. Don't forget the E on the end. hawkmotorsport.co.uk to get yourself some racing, anything from car preparation, racing apparel. Go and see those guys. Richard will do you a great deal on some very, very good quality products. The other people I want to talk about today as well are 4040 Racing. They do a range of arrive and drive deals. Rob Willsmore will actually know quite a lot about them. They run cars in the BMW 116 Trophy and predominantly the Road Sport series, although in the past couple of years they have been branching out to other series such as Track Day Trophy and Championship, Club Sport Trophy and the like. They've got a beautiful range of cars, lovely prepared cars, a range of deals that you could do with them for arrive and drive packages. So get yourself to www.40, that's the word 40, and then 40, the numbers, racing.co.uk. Check them out for a good deal now. Right. Apologies there, guys. Just getting the advertisement in there.
Don't apologise for the advertisement.
Yes.
Just don't bring it in like a sledgehammer.
Well, I can't think of any other way to slip it in. That's what she said. I'm not doing well tonight, am I, Nick? Just right. Let's go to some comments before we completely lose it. Okay.
Look at him squirm.
Mate, Matt Cleary. If he doesn't do it, he'll have to do it with his wife's shoe. I think this is on about Stefan's shoeing. Jamie Peters Ennis, I never want a sweaty hug off of you again. Yes, I did give him a hug just as I got out of the car after race 1. That was probably very disgusting for you, Jamie. I apologise. Frank Mead, totally agree about weddings. Never. James Stone Street, I've done one wedding and never again. That's higher pressure than any pit lane. Motor Racing UK, do you do any funerals not open casket?
Funnily enough, I actually had to shoot my nan's funeral because my uncle was stuck in Germany. That was horrible. That was a horrible, horrible time.
Oh, wow.
That's wow.
Didn't expect that.
Yeah,
Wow.
the worst bit was actually having to edit the photos afterwards because it was like reliving the whole day again. It was just
week-long funeral.
That was horrible, very horrible.
Well, we've gone down a dark path.
But still, let's scoot on.
Yeah, let's scoot on. Now I have to I'll have to bring up Motor Racing UK now. Our wonderful Mick Palmer. Incidentally, if you do want to get yourself a good non-biased motor racing magazine, Motor Racing UK have got some wonderful magazines in, and I will say that because I write an article in it for each episode. So if you want some absolute tripe from me, or you just want to read some other good racing content, get yourself Motor Racing UK magazine. Anyway, so our good friend Mick Palmer.
And let's not forget that if you buy some of these Motor Racing UK magazines, it will help him fund his get himself a cricket cup.
Well,
go on.
We come to that. So, effectively, Mick Palmer, God bless our Mick Palmer, he was at Knockhill at the weekend shooting pictures for the British Touring Car Championship. He had his tabard on, doing everything as it should. But unfortunately, Mr. Dan Lloyd may have lost it going into one of the gravel traps and kicked a piece of gravel somewhere where you don't want a piece of gravel coming at you at a rate of knots to hit you, especially as a gentleman. You'll know the region I'm on about. So
that's the first time he's ever been called a gentleman.
That's a very good point. But unfortunately, poor Mick, as described, got some gravel square in the nuts. He did live to he did have to sit down for the rest of the race and the race afterwards to do his shooting, which I'm not surprised. And word has reached me that he is walking around the streets of Sunderland and the local area with a bit of a limp and carrying them in a wheelbarrow. Now, for just £2 a month, we can all contribute to get him a guard for down there, whether it's an ice hockey guard or a cricket cup. So, yeah, we are starting to GoFundMe now to get Mick Palmer. But, I mean, seriously, as light-hearted stories
go, Dave Mick's nuts.
As we're going into an episode about photography, and then Mick comes up with that gem, legend. Absolute legend.
He's funny.
Yeah.
But that should lead on to quite a nice little question for these guys. Like, have you guys ever had a very similar incident whilst shooting at an event of any kind? Have you guys fallen foul of anything?
I got completely showered in gravel at Croft at the beginning of the season. My first ever event with a media tabard. So I was like really wary of it. I was thinking, I've never been stood this close, behind the barriers before, and I need to be careful and this, that, and the other. And yeah, turn one at Croft. You know what it's like at turn one.
Yeah, absolutely.
On the outside of the gravel, and I thought, well, I've got to be there for the first lap. Don't have a choice about that. Got through the first lap, and that was all right. So I thought, false sense of security then. So I stayed there for a couple of laps, and yeah. Shortly after, a car came barreling straight towards me, and he missed the barrier, but he kicked up a huge amount of gravel just in my direction. And rather than protect myself, the first thing I thought about was, protect the camera. And so I just, all I did was just shield the camera and just let it all hit me instead.
But that's the thing, though, isn't it? Because at the end of the day, I know, like obviously you were saying earlier about. You're still making that adjustment into making it like a real life job, etc. But that's your bread and butter. That's what brings in the great photos. So you guys, and like I said before we came on the show, I know nothing about photography, but I do know cameras are bloody expensive.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Dave South has messaged in, and first time viewer of the show, Dave, and we hope you come back for many more. So far, managed to avoid any injury trackside. Always save the camera.
Yeah.
I can imagine, because it's a lot of money's worth that you guys like buy and invest, because effectively that's an investment from you guys into future business. So it must be quite stressful at times.
It was a strange one as well, because it was early in the race. It was with the 116 trophy. They do one 90-minute race. And if they would have smashed my equipment on about lap 3, kind of my whole purpose for being there is all of a sudden gone. You know, if the equipment's smashed, I'm going home with nothing for them either. So yeah, it was just all sorts of things. I mean, it was instinct, really. At the end of the day, it was instinct. First thing I went for was protect the camera.
You'd have had to hope that you would have had some good ones during qualifying.
Yeah. Well, I think it'd been like, you know, they'd have like a safety car and stuff. So I really didn't have a huge amount from qualifying. I spent most of it in the paddock. So yeah, no, it was crucial to save the camera.
So let's so tell you what, let's just sort of focus on the job you do with the 116 trophy. You did send a lot of lovely images into us, Rob. So we'll go through a couple of them here. So I mean, these are very, very well taken shots. I quite like these. So just through what you sent us, so predominantly this year you're photographing the 116 trophy. So how did this come about for starters?
So I first got my camera in lockdown, and it's almost like a lot of people didn't really notice that you're allowed to go to a lot of race meetings after the initial really strict lockdown. A lot of meetings opened up and spectators were allowed to go, but they didn't. But I was there, and I had my camera and I started taking pictures, but there was also quite a lack of what seemed to be professional photographers working behind the barriers compared to normal. And I'd been at a meeting at Donington, and they were the final race of the day, on a Sunday, 2-day meeting. It's an hour and a half race. Everyone goes home, or they watch the first lap and they go home. I'd stayed, I'd taken some photos, put them online. I'd only just recently set up a website. And the weekend after, all of a sudden, my phone started going mental, and all these sales were coming through, and a load of the drivers had been on and bought them. And they're asking, are you going to be at the next meeting? I was thinking, no, I'm not due to be. I think I was due to be going and watching the touring cars somewhere, as it happens, the BTCC. And then when that meeting came around, it was at Snetterton, which is a very long way away from where I live. And I thought, actually, no, I'm going to skip the touring cars. I'm going to drive all the way down to Snetterton, and I'll photograph those guys again and see what happens. So I put them online. Again, they flocked in and brought quite a lot. And then one of the drivers who was doing the social media for the series at the time asked, do you want to start coming to every meeting as the official photographer sort of thing? Which was exactly the sort of thing I've been hoping would happen one day.
Yeah.
So I did the rest of the season with them. But unfortunately, I wasn't able to get a media pass for reasons that probably shouldn't go into. But I did the rest of the season with
circuits that got 3 letters in their name.
No, actually, no.
Oh, okay.
No, it's
more. Well,
we'll leave it there.
More sinister interference, shall we say? But I did the rest of the season with them anyway. And I just did it as a spectator. I did it from behind the fences, the areas in the paddock that I was allowed to do. And that went great. And they wanted me to do it again this year. But at the same time, they've got a partnership now with Motorsport News, and Motorsport News were wanting some photos to be used for feature articles and stuff. And we went back at it this year and sort of managed to get approval for the media passes now for this season.
Perfect.
So yeah, it's going well. Like, I've not had any issues with that certain brand of circuits that you mentioned there, Chris.
Well,
I have heard a lot. I've heard a lot about them, but I must put my hand up and say, so far, I've applied for 2 events with them. I've had my pass. I applied for Donington this weekend. No issues whatsoever. So I can't really say anything bad about them. But
I would just like to say that I do work for them directly, and I've been working for them for about 8-9 years. And we can support you in that. If Chris, especially if you've had bad run-ins, I'd like to alter that for you. Cool. It's obviously the race coordinators, directors. It's whoever the race series is with generally that has control. The circuit just hosts the events. But yeah, just a quick one, if you don't mind, Rob. going back to like original question about what got you into motorsport, that first ever initial day that you get that media bib, you get a little red zone map. It's like this, you can't go here, you can't go here. That feeling of standing on that corner and watching them come by, whether it's through your lens or just taking a step back for a minute and being like, you guys didn't see that, like Stefan, Rob, and Nick. You guys haven't experienced it in that sense because you're behind the wheel. So you guys have got a complete different experience of being in a race, being amongst the pack, testing. Again, like you, Robert, having to figure out what happened with your car. Let's get it on that grid. That's a different side to motorsport. Whereas that first initial experience gets you hooked. You stood somewhere that you look behind you. Obviously, if there were no spectators there, Rob, fine. But they're not allowed there, and you're like, oh my god, like this is special. This is something.
You've literally got the best seat in the house.
Yeah, and you're so close and personal with them. You can see, not in the moment, but eye contact afterwards when you're looking through your pictures, people's eye reactions going into a corner full pelt and back ends just coming out through their helmet. It's you're capturing that, and you have a connection with them drivers that no one else can give you. And I honestly do think that it's nothing can compare. And Rob, you'll understand, doing a full season spectator side, public areas is hard bloody work because obviously during COVID it weren't saturated, but especially now it's very saturated with hobbyists that have 25 grand's worth on the shoulder. And I know me definitely starting out, I couldn't afford that. Regardless what people genuinely, Nick, that's how it is. You have hobbyists coming to track days with 25 grand cameras going, well, I can get this shot. I'm like, brilliant, but that's one person in a 75 booking day. You've got one car. I'm like, I'm not being rude about it, but it's just knowing where you start and knowing your morals. And I think for us three, especially looking at where we've come from and what we've done and what we're producing now, we appreciate that more than most. And like the companies that cover these Tocker series or whatever series you want to be, Bennett's, the guys that have them agency wise, they've been there, they've had it, they've grown, but they've grown that quickly. They had to bring on staff. With us, it's like, no, we have they have passions for it, great, but we appreciate that more than ever, is we can stand there and we can be that close and connected to you guys as racers.
Well, Katie, I'll tell you what you've just said there has got some reactions, some brilliant reactions, so I'll bring that up now. So Frank Mead, spot on KTRE first experience as well. Mick Palmer says, Alton, dearly, totally mad place to stand. TCR blew his hat off there this year.
TCR's sketchy regardless where you stand.
Dave South is asking a question. Katie, could I give you a shout about media for Donington? We'll be joining the Britcar and the British Endurance Championship.
I can definitely message me and I can give you the right avenues. My experience, especially some of the stuff I've done, I can only speak for Time Attack this current last couple of months. You have to go direct to the championship organisers, whoever the race meets are for, whoever it is, if it's CSCC, if it's touring cars, if it's you guys, MSVR, it's them that make the decision makers and get you on the media. Effectively, if it is an MSV circuit, and I mentioned the name, it's nothing that I ain't got to. It goes through Brands Hatch with the written approval of the guys that are organising the events. Don't take it personal if they say no. From my own experience, you just have to keep trying. It's very difficult for race meets and series till then people know you face to face, have a relation with you. They aren't going to ask you to come along. They aren't going to give you media access because they just think you're someone trying to steal money, when actually as a collective, as a championship, you provide them for all drivers and all scenarios. It's tough, but I can certainly give you avenues. It's not an issue.
Thing is, this is all valid information, isn't it, for anyone who's looking to get into it and looking to get involved with it, and just how it all works. It's not a case of you can just, hi, I've got a camera, rock up, boom. You don't just get let in through the door and go over there. So this is all valid information. This is why we wanted to do this show, really, because we get asked questions about it and how it works and who we can speak to, etc. So obviously, you guys are the right ones to talk to about how it all works. So
absolutely,
definitely a stiff word of warning for anyone wanting to get into it is that getting your first camera is definitely the first step, but from that moment onwards it's probably worse than a heroin addiction, because you just end up getting more and more and more, and it's just like, I need that lens, I need that camera, I need that bit of kit, I need that bit of kit.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I went to Torquay on Monday for one camera that I've been dreaming of owning for a while. And I'm at a point where I'm like, I want to pre-order a camera that I'm going to take 10 months to get delivered, or do I just drive to Torquay right now and let's buy it? Drove to Torquay and back in a day for one camera. Still not turned it on yet, but we've got it.
There you go.
Well, that's all part of it, guys. It's fantastic. Johnny Berry, just want to point out some photographers aren't getting the same credit as the ones that are enticed by race series. I've seen photos from Katie that are far superior to lots of others reported by race organisers.
Yeah, it's tough. So me personally, some of you guys that have joined in, I know a lot of people, I've got different followings again because I'm in different areas. I know Rob and Chris have got race series the support, drivers the support. That's where I want to get to one day, but I'll touch on that later, but in a different aspect. Photography and media is what I do. It's what I'm better at. I prefer being behind a camera than in front of one, as much as I might mouth. I gabble a lot, but I do prefer being behind that camera because I feel I've got some sort of different vision in terms of what I can offer and what I provide. But I, at the moment, do concentrate on a lot of track days because, hence, again, for you, Rob, that's that side of my screen. For me, that's how I've got into getting a full-time profession doing automotive and motorsport photography, starting through track days. Build it up. It gives you a lot more freedom, a lot more creativity than being on a race meet going, right, they've only got 90 minutes. I'm on clock here. I've got to get 12 drivers. I've got to do this. Because there's some sort of expectations from it. Track days is expectations, but you have a lot more creativity freedom. And I think that's why this year, especially come post-COVID, it's all been more track day related. I support a lot of race series and race meets this year, luckily, as team management. And again, that's other avenues. And I think it's just because I've been in the right place, right time, right people that I've got that way. But I think it's being prepared to do anything. And I know for certain that you guys alongside me would be, because I've seen your work, I've seen your relations with your racing drivers, race teams. And I think that's what makes us stand out above the rest. I haven't gone for race series. I haven't gone for race meets as my own clientele, purely because of my aspect of where I want to get the end goal. And like I said, we'll touch on that later, but I think that's probably my priorities and where I am. And I do appreciate people love my work, but again, in a different aspect, that I can be creative and I've got that bit of freedom. And I'll be completely honest, you have all day to photograph track days. You have all day to do that. I'd love to work with race teams, especially. I work with teams on press launches, livery launches, but that's because I know the drivers directly from history, from my own business that I do. And I think that's where I failed short is, like you, Rob, you've gone to the race meets as a spectator, you've gone in them areas, you've got noticed for being and excelling in them areas. And obviously, Chris, I can't comment for yourself, but for me, I just feel as though that's where I went wrong. I went down the other avenues first. I'd love to be involved with race teams, meets, seasons. I've just got my fingers in that many pies at the moment. I'm scared I wouldn't have the time for them at this season to finish off 2022, for example.
No, that's a fair point. I just want to go back to some more comments. Nick Prawn-Vaughan, our wonderful ambassador. I know what Katie means. Watching from behind the barriers after my first DNF was certainly a very different experience. I mean, genuinely saying that.
Bit of an extreme way to get there, though, Nick.
Well, I mean, when me and Steph parked up next to each other at Coombe, it was certainly a great way to watch the racing from that chicane, wasn't it, Steph?
Yeah. Wow.
Frank Mead also points out as well, more often than not, they send their photos to teams and drivers for free.
So if I could just add to what Katie said there. So my response to that, the question before there, would be that exactly that is, don't assume because you see a photographer working for a series that is a photographer that is being paid hundreds of pounds by that series to go and do that work. It very well may be that they are doing it for free. And, a photographer that's willing to do it for free may well be worse than a photographer that's doing it as a professional, like Katie is. Katie's a professional photographer. Now, I alluded to it before we started the podcast. People love a free photo. They love a free photo. They will take a rubbish free photo over paying for an amazing photo. There are just people that's it for them. They want the free photo. But I would be careful of criticizing someone else's work from a different series as not being as good as mine or whatever, because they're just on their own journey, and you don't know where they are on that. Sometimes there is some injustice out there, and someone is doing some paid work that's not necessarily amazing because of who they know or the circumstance that they just happen to find themselves in. But most of the time, it's not that. I don't think.
The thing is as well.
That is why you see.
Sorry, Rob.
So I was just going to say. So to be completely honest about my work with the 116, the 116 don't pay me to be there.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm exclusively their photographer. If they need photos for their website, I supply those. But I'm also entitled to sell all of my photographs to the drivers. And I do okay off that. And on that, you are relying on the quality of your work in a way, because people aren't going to pay for rubbish, essentially.
Yeah, absolutely.
So every photographer's kind of trying to make their own way in a different route. Katie's gone a completely different route to me, to Chris. I'm not sure you'll find many photographers where they say they've got the identical same route into it as another.
Well, to be fair, that's what I was going to stem on and say. Is that the thing I've noticed, obviously, with photography, I'm not a photographer, I've already mentioned it, but you got to remember as well, everyone has different styles. This is what I love about it, is because everybody has a different way of looking. It's creative, isn't it? It's expressive. People do different shots, long shots, short shots. As you were saying earlier, Katie, you see people's eyes through their visors and stuff like that. Certain people can capture that better than others, and action shots. And that's the great thing about it, is we're lucky as us three in following all of club racing, sharing the pictures that we do on our socials and stuff like that. We are so spoiled with the stuff that comes into us that we get to share, and all the different styles and all the different things. So there's so many different avenues as well, like you said, about different routes to take, different styles to take. I think I'd imagine it's
the main thing. There's no set route. There's no follow this instruction list, and that will get you from
there's
beginner
10-step guide through to photography.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Now, the next comment is actually from my sister, but she's really wanted to get into photography, so she just comments this. I think she was keenly waiting for this episode. She comments, "Are there any courses you guys would recommend for this sort of photography? It is something I'm very interested in getting into, as I always have my camera out when I go racing and like moving to different areas of the track to get the right shots. Is there anything you guys would suggest?"
I'm very biased because I spend most of my life there. Castle Combe, that's great because you've got access all the way around the circuit on the outside of the track, and the spectated locations of where you can shoot from are very minimally different from where we can shoot as media. So there's probably a 10-foot gap between where you can shoot as a spectator and where you can shoot as media. So that's a good one, definitely. And Alton Park,
quite similar to that.
Alton Park is amazing. Yeah.
I think what your sister were touching on, Rob, as well, is courses. I don't know if you two can agree with me again this way. Rob, you might have different experience. Chris, you too. I don't know your backgrounds. However, on myself, and I know a lot of creatives and people at my level and above my level, where I only dream of getting to, is it's self-taught. As much as there's courses and advice, I think the best is I'm probably going to get an inbox full, but I personally will talk you through some stuff. If you're going to a race meet this weekend, whatever, give me a message on my socials. I'll tell you, I can guide you. If I'm there, I'll come guide you. If I'm working, it's a bit more difficult, but just jump in, ask questions, get involved. I'm probably doing a lot of my friends injustice, but please don't pay for online courses. Like us, again, looking at you, Rob, if I said to you, yeah, I can get you where I am, no issue, I can get you paid for doing what you're doing, pay me 600 quid and I'll get you there. The wedding industry, I feel, is more than motorsport saturated with courses like this. especially from after COVID. They're like, can't be bothered with it. I'll just do a course. People can get money, but I'll get more money for doing them. That guide you through processes, and actually all they're telling you is what some of you guys are watching on now YouTube. Again, name dropping, but get on YouTube, watch some videos, watch event photography, watch bike photography, watch car photography. Bike's a lot more fast paced, and I know you guys will agree and people on comments will agree. It's hard work. So my only advice is stick to cars. You can be a bit lazier. Your focusing zone's a little bit bigger. It's a bit easier to learn the basics on, but just self-taught, ask the right questions. Please have a chat with us. I know us three here will support alongside this podcast. Obviously, we can't tell you every single thing to get you where you want to be, but I know we can certainly give you tips and tricks. And I think that's what's hard in this industry is a lot of big named, obviously brands or photographers that just aren't willing to help because they feel as though you're going to take work away from them. I have a lot of very close friends that shoot my track days, shoot race meets, shoot for touring cars and for the names that we've all discussed behind closed doors. And I won't take work from them. However, I know on the other foot, I've got 3 people on one hand that won't take work, but the other 3 on this hand, if I give them an opening into my days and my clientele, they would take it away from me tomorrow. And that's unfortunately how cutthroat this industry is. Working in it, being professional in it, being a presence in it, it has its downfalls, but just ask the right questions to the right people and we can guide you ourselves. And it's free advice. It's not something that anybody wants to make money of because we never made money. We ask questions to the right people and look where we are right now. And I think that's more vital than anything you can ever pay for.
Yeah, I think we both me and Rob misconstrued what she meant there about courses. We thought it meant tracks. But you were probably right, Katie. But yeah, everything that I've learned over time has been through YouTube tutorials and practice. When I was sort of trying to learn about doing panning shots where you've got the blurry wheels, blurry background, and the nice sharp car, I just went down to the A road down the road and just basically stood at the side of the road with the camera for a couple of hours, shooting cars going past.
Can I just say, I can do them. I can do blurry photos every time.
Wonderful.
Honestly, I'm so crap.
Dave, just quickly, guys. So Dave South, my routine, I got introduced to Andy Tucker at Team Brit, invited along, never left them since. Fantastic. Mick Palmer turned up once at a Ferrari Challenge meeting where the photographer was on £600 a day and had never shot cars before.
Can you put me in touch?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, it's definitely who you know rather than what you know. Because
could he take photos of them though?
There's going to be thousands and thousands of people out there that are photographers or amateurs, hobbyists, getting into professional world that would love to do the full-time. I'm still doing the day job. I'd love to do full-time photography, but it's paid for a few kit upgrades and it pays for my insurance every year, but that's about it at the moment. So it's kind of like there's a lot of people that would love to do it. It's a question of knowing the right people to get into the right places without question.
The thing is as well, like we've already spoken about, surely it's also building that portfolio and that rapport of yourselves, isn't it? Obviously your work speaks for itself, but then like you say, if you're doing more events, putting your name out there, talking to the right people, as you say, that I would imagine like anything really, isn't it? You start making a good name for yourself.
If you wanted to turn it into a full-time day job, you definitely need to be putting a lot of time in. If you're thinking I'll get rid of the 9 to 5 so I can be free and be a photographer, you end up doing more like 6 till 10 as a photographer, and then some, because you're doing all the other stuff in the background as well.
And touching on that, Chris, it's lonely. Like you guys, like you said, you've got your jobs and 9 to 5s or your weekday jobs as well that you guys do above and beyond. When you get at home, you start sorting them pictures from that race week. You're doing extra for drivers because they've asked you, can I just have this shot for the sponsor? Can we just have this? That's in your own free time and you're doing that for the good of you guys around your family life and everything. I think people that want to look at going into it professionally and, like you said, full time, if there is such a thing as full time, It's not just till 10, is it? You can't switch off.
No.
It never ends. It's, I've got to panic. I'm setting off at 3 a.m. for that circuit. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. I've got to do this. Got to get these back to these guys within 24 hours because they're the ones that pay more. And I think people don't understand the pressures and the reality of what hits you when you take that step over, or when people give you access to that step. You know, as harsh as it is, you can't have a life. I'm making it sound really doomy and gloomy, and well advertised to you guys. However, it's really
high pressure.
Be strong-willed, be independent, be comfortable in your own company. Because when you leave that race meet, it's very lonely sat there on your computer sorting them and getting them done. You've got communications with what people want, but it's a lot of you stood circuit like edge at track on your own all day. It is a lonely and very hectic and very stressful situation to be in terms of you turn it into a career. You're giving up everything you've ever known, and securities, mainly financial securities. You're putting investment into your equipment, investment into time and people for your brand, for your rapport. And I think that's the main thing people misinterpret. They think it's it's a doddle, I'm just watching what I like, and it's like reality is actually you can't just watch.
And for the hobbyists that are kind of just getting into photography and love motorsport and would love to do the motorsport photography, when you go to your first race meeting and you get 1,000 photos and 950 of them are crap, don't be disheartened, because generally speaking, on a race day, I'll come away with maybe 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 photos, and then that will come down to probably about 600 or 700 photos of
bloody hell,
the keepers.
Yeah, they do. Nick, that's reality.
If you get a 10% hit rate, that's a good day.
To be fair, I was going to lead on to the question then. So roughly, guys, how many photos do you take at an event? I know that's probably how long's a piece of string, but realistically, well, you pretty much answered it there. Like, how many photos would you take at an event, and then how long does it take you to edit them, and then how many do you actually have that are photos that you guys are happy with? Like,
like I say, it starts off. If I'm doing a full race day, with a full selection of races, 10, 11, 12, 13 races, it'll probably be somewhere around 7,000-8,000 photos throughout the day, and then I'll get home and then spend the next sort of like 4 or 5 hours going through the photos and culling them and selecting the keepers, and then they'll get saved, and then obviously the editing begins, and you've probably got 600, 700, 800 photos that are the keepers that you'll then edit, which normally takes around a week and a half to get through. And then, like I say, then it's a case of waiting on the wonders of the internet to upload them to your websites and send them to people that have paid for them and all that kind of stuff.
Bloody hell.
So yeah, you're talking from a race day, from one race day, you're looking at about a week and a half of work. Obviously doing the day job as well sucks big time because it chops up a lot of my time. But every moment that you're awake and you're not at your day job, you're editing photos for that next week and a half.
I think people don't understand culling. Like, again, Chris and Rob, I can only speak for myself. I've got in a flow, and I think it's helped doing the track day side, because with that side of it, or even test days, they're not edited. Sponsors and things might ask for one or two that they want to print large, or they want on a media or an advert, but they're not edited for my side. Like, in my sense, with the majority, 90% of what I do isn't edited. Discarding the other side of photography and the other avenues and industries, motorsport and automotive, for me, it's a fast turnaround, and I think that's what's worked for myself, is getting that workflow correct. Culling takes hours. If you've been to the trackside, especially sun, winter, it's not too bad. You can come home, put your feet in hot water, have a bath, whatever you want, sit in bath doing them. But actually, when it's red hot, you're drained, mentally, physically, and emotionally drained. You come home, you sit there and start going 1, 2, 3, delete, 3, delete. It takes hours, and your brain just shuts off from it. If you don't have that break away from it, it'll take you twice as long. And I think people don't understand there's not just, just get me photo, just edit it and I'll have it. You've got to cull and go through them, because your eye is also the one that they're going to see. That's your product, your name that you put out. And I just don't think people appreciate how long that actually takes after a race weekend. 45-minute race. I know one of the comments John has just asked about, if you do a 45-minute race, how many photos do you take? Depends on how many cars, because if you're there doing it for the championship, in my head, I want to do 20, 30 images average per car. That's what I aim for. So they have a selection. So they go, do you know what? That Katie put a load of effort in. She's got me these shots, these corners, this different race, etc., etc. You aim for a figure in your head, so they use your stuff. They push you. It's self-promotion. They use your photos because you've gave them a variety, and actually they're really good. And I think that's the difference with what we can do as appreciating a product, what we're handing over, to what you're just getting 2 or 3 people from the actual championship giving it you. And again, it's how long's a piece of string. But I do agree that, especially with you, Chris, with what you've said, it takes a week and a half, regardless what it is. One day can take that week and a half because of everything you have to do afterwards.
So I sit between the two of you, really, on a typical 116 weekend. If they're racing on the Sunday, they'll have a half an hour qualifying session and an hour and a half race. So they're on track for 2 hours, and I take shots around the paddock. I will then book my Monday off of the day job. I will go home on the Sunday night with, I would say, around 5,000 photos. And I will aim to have them uploaded to my website by the Tuesday morning. And that would be culled down to about 1,500 photos. Because I'm trying to really practice the fast turnaround time, like Katie says about, is that if you're going to do it, if you ever are going to make it and do it as a job, a lot of it is about speed. It's old news. A 3-day-old photo can be old news. And also, I'm competing with all the other photographers out there as well. Like I said, I don't have a fee to turn up. I have to make my fee afterwards in sales. And I compete with every other guy that's out there with a website and a camera.
Well, I mean, just
putting his photos up, or and you're competing with them putting them on Facebook for free.
Yeah,
that's a good point. I mean, one thing I must say you're very good at, Rob, is really getting a good rolling shot, and we've got the start of it here now. Apologies, actually no, not apologies to Callum at turn 7, because this is impressive.
That is brilliant effort in a KA.
Absolutely, quite easy in the KA. As you can see, the underside, not really a lot of signs of rust. There's a little bit on the. There's definitely signs of oil there, though. As we go back over, but that's very good. But the other thing I was very impressed with, Rob, is some of these very good artistic shots. I mean, some of these are phenomenal.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
absolutely phenomenal. And I'm not going to let Katie get away with it as well, because this is going to be a very blank photo for a lot of people. But I don't think you realise it. You actually caught the moment, and I tried everywhere to look for the blue mini one, Steph. For some reason, it's not on any of your socials. But you got this photo, which is me out in the focus, after it had been hidden away for 3 years, and I finally got it out on its throttle body. So that was a track obsession day at Brands.
I'm not sure I got that photo.
But the question is, Katie, did you edit out his front splitter?
No, I did that.
Nick did that. I'm not going to let Chris Pearson get away with it as well, because you sent me some wonderful work. But I love this shot as well, because that shows a true paddock atmosphere at Castle Combe. You also got the TCRs, which, funnily enough, hopefully a lot of people have tuned in from Castle Combe TV, where they've obviously got the TCRs going back there this weekend. But this is a great sample of some of your work, Chris. But you have
back there on Saturday.
Yeah, you have sent me some other photos as well. We've got this lovely example here.
I had to put that one in for Nick, didn't I?
Oh yeah, there she is. Finally, a proper race car on the show.
Absolutely. And of course, the King of Coombe, Gary Preble as well. Rob Collard, someone that we haven't seen for a very long time. That looks like coming out of chicane at Thruxton, if I'm right.
Correct.
Oh, Robert, you are so good.
Yeah, that was a super lucky day. That was when Olympus was sponsoring PMR in 2019. They put out a series of invitations for Olympus photographers to come along, or photographers generally to come along and try the new Olympus gear, and obviously spend the day shooting with hosting the VIP with PMR. So that was fantastic. That got me back into touring cars again after not watching it for many years.
I love it. Katie, now, I know you said you like to get close to the action and there was no better feeling like it. I think this may be too close.
No, I like to do something a bit different. This was one of my clients that develops race cars down near Bristol. I'm South Yorkshire based, as you can tell from this shocking Yorkshire accent. But this was just one shot that I wanted to do something a bit special. The red car on the left. So I've got a bucket list of my cars, like a little bucket list that I'm going to own one day, and I will track day them all. One of mine is an E92.
E30, isn't it?
Till I saw this red one, this literally perfection of an M3.
So E46.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. And the two guys that owned it, I knew them very well. They asked me as a favourite at Donington, and I think that's why I come across it differently. I try to offer something personal to my clients in terms of track day goers or anybody on a race team or sponsors or all like that. If they want something different, I will just go above and beyond to give it. And I do try my best.
So that's absolutely what you have to do, isn't it? You have to be fully committed into it. You have to be, willing to offer what others won't, basically.
Yeah, but I love getting creative. When I did that shot, I had the vision. Everybody were looking at me crazy, like, what the hell is she laying down for? And I just had the vision of the Donington sign behind and really low, getting the stance of the cars. And I just think it worked really well as an outcome.
Nice.
Well, there's
awesome.
What you're doing there is earning your keep. It would be great. I mean, to be honest, the only thing that's missing is the shot that resulted from that. So maybe for a future show,
yes, we can resolve that quite quickly.
We can as well. But you do a lot of work yourself with Track Obsession. Do you still work with those guys? Or?
I can mention names of this one. It was actually one racing driver that got me their contact and their gig. Their first ever track day in 2018 at Rockingham. Good old Rockingham holds a good place in my heart for the good and the
love
bad.
Rockingham.
Hopefully it comes back. But yes, it was actually Mike Epps.
It will.
Mike Epps, an old touring car driver himself, put me in touch saying, Katie, these guys need a photographer. I think it's going to be really good for you going forward. Let's get you on board. So I went along to Rockingham and we just clicked as a unit, as a team. I had something they wanted. They had something that vice versa. And I think especially being a female in track day industry, it worked very well for myself. A point I'd like to touch on at some point in this podcast, the female side of motorsport. I'm not your typical female in motorsport. I'm not going to claim that it's really difficult and it's sexist and discriminative and da-da-da. It is what you make of it. If you work in a male-oriented industry...
I've never heard anyone say that before.
Oh, Nick, you sure? Are you sure?
I'm detecting a little sarcasm in his voice there.
No, I just think that without, and I have to say his name, Mike Epps, I wouldn't have got the gig with Track Obsession. I wouldn't be where I am today with them. They are exclusively mine, my clients, my gigs. I do every single one of their events, come hail, rain, sun or snow, unfortunately, for the good and the better. But it means that I go all over the UK. It's what I do anyway. But they are the one that's exclusive to myself. So it's quite nice that they're my babies. So and I get to meet some cool people and some cool cars, like looking at the picture in front of you. I couldn't imagine a better mix and a collective mix of cars than them right there. Mm-hmm. I think it kind of summarises Track Obsession days. This isn't me advertising them or punning them in any way. I'm with them tomorrow. But we genuinely do get their punnies, track day enthusiastic group for enthusiasts. And that's, I think, where I come from. Like that photo that you just put up, I'm into golfs, I'm into the old, I'm into the new, I'm into the power, I'm into the turbos, I'm into naturally aspirated. And I think that shows with what I do for work and my outcome on that job. Yeah. If you guys can agree, I think it's nice to be involved with such a different mix, especially in the race series that you guys are all in as well. Being on a grid with all them different cars and that different eclectic mix just gives you a nostalgic feeling. It's like, wow, what the hell am I doing here? How have we got here? And I love that feeling. But yeah, Track Obsession are my babies, and we so continue to grow. I'm hoping the good European next year. Hint, hint, if you're listening.
Absolute credit to Track Obsession, because whenever I've been on a Track Obsession day, it's been run really well. Great guys. The instructors they get on for the days have been really good. Normally people like Mike Epps, Max Coates, top TOCA level drivers, and they bring them in with free tuition. So they really look after the paying customer, and it's great to see. And of course, your wonderful photography. But that is a great shot. I love that shot of my car because there's a similar shot of the Mini. So this was like November 2019 when we all went out and had a day out. This was the week actually leading up to the Enduro KA 500 where the lads went out and got their first podium. Many moons ago. Yeah, that trophy there. So yeah, that was on like the Wednesday, wasn't it, lads, or something like that? Wednesday or the Thursday?
It was a Thursday.
Yeah.
So is that another retrospective shoey?
Back when racing was fun.
Yeah, back when racing was fun, Nick. But I do. I mean, Rob, these shots of historic. There's something about a historic meeting.
Historics is magical.
Yeah. Oh, look at that.
I mean, that's a Formula 4 car, we'll ignore that. But, a 911 like that just stunning. Excuse me while I just salivate for a minute. I mean, it's all wonderful.
I love everything in terms of photography. Part of what I enjoy is sometimes making the less exciting cars look a bit more exciting, if possible. You go to an Enduro car event or something, the C1s, and they're not exciting cars, are they? Citroen C1s,
not at all.
But if you catch them at the right moment, that's part of what I enjoy.
It's very true, though. They are not. Everyone sees race cars and things like that as fast, but there are cars out there that aren't fast.
Yeah.
There's nothing I love more.
Than the 116 trophy is slow as hell.
There's nothing I love more than showing a picture to one of the guys that's at the back of the grid that's like struggling to get the pace round, getting lapped 18 times during a race, and you show him a picture of like a sort of panning shot. It makes his car look like he's going really fast, and they're like, "Oh my god, that's amazing! Thank you."
Love it.
Definitely.
No, that's fair. But I suppose. And I have to put my C1 hat on here because I do work for them now. But I think that's a different kind of enjoyment out of that. I mean, these two have raced in a slower formula. I did a while ago. Actually, participating in it is one of the best things you can do in terms of. But I think
it's great fun.
From the spectating point of view, if it's a line of cars or they're all bunched together, it's exciting. But when they are spread out, it can look that way. I will just say that. But
we won't taking anything out of that, but I knew what was meant. And
I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the C1s. I love the Enduro car. They're all great events, and the racing's really close and exciting, and sometimes a bit crazy. But I think they're some of the best series out there.
Yeah,
there's no question that given the opportunity, if funds were a bit more available, I would 100% be behind the wheel rather than behind the camera because it's just incredible. But I think that's where I'm getting my fix of motorsport, by being behind the camera, because I can't afford to be behind the wheel. Simple as that.
Absolutely, guys. Go on, Casey.
Go on. You're right. It was just to touch on Chris's point there. I've got to the point where I was at a point in my life, and I'm like, I'm doing all this, and the motorsport side of it doesn't pay the hundreds of thousands of what everybody thinks it does and dreams of, and where you've got a really nice house and your GT3 sat on drive. It's never going to be the avenue for that. You have to have the love and the passion behind it. And a couple of years ago, I purchased my first track day car, led on to bad financial decisions and mistakes because it was Japanese. I now have an even more expensive Japanese car that my end goal is to do a series like Time Attacking. And I actually get behind the wheel, and I have a second, again, from your perspective above, it's a different appreciation for the sport and the driving and what you guys go through as racing drivers, whatever level that may be, whatever competitive level, competitive series. I honestly think that it gives you a complete different prospect on life in terms of racing and what's involved in it. And I think when you guys get chance, come along to one of our track days, or come along when I'm out, and come with me, have a go yourselves, because honestly, it's unbelievable the difference it gives you, the aspect of that side of it.
Well, Johnny's touched on something there that's a very good point, and it's something that hopefully a lot of photographers, I hope you guys realise what you do, because I'm sure from you guys you get a lot of race. Oh, I just want a photo and blah 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 for my sponsors and that. But there is nothing like. I mean, I don't know if it's the same for you, Nick and Steph, but there's nothing like a week or so after you've been racing, and all of a sudden you get tagged in these wicked images that people like yourself or Jonathan LZ, and you don't realise in the heat of the moment because you've just been concentrating on being inside the car.
You're racing, aren't you?
Yeah.
You don't think about it, yeah.
But someone's captured that moment.
It reminds you of that moment, doesn't it? Obviously, we see it and go, "It's a wicked photo," and stick it on our Facebook because that's what everyone does. But it also reminds you of that moment of that race, and you remember what was going on. You know, if in the middle of an overtake or whatever, and you got both cars in there, it then gives you that sort of click back in your memory.
Yeah, but I mean,
that's definitely a thing that we need. You know, as photographers, you'll see the picture in a different way to what the drivers see in the picture, because obviously we're seeing a technical image about capturing a moment and getting the focus right and this, that, and the other. You know, getting the composition right, and for the driver, it's reliving a memory of that day. So it's kind of like it's a different perspective.
Well, I mean, like I say from the perspective. So the photographer that took this was very, very close. I cannot remember seeing any photographers trackside at Snet. But again, you say from that point of view, so all I can remember is that epic race came up through the ranks, and all I was doing was concentrating on picking cars off. But he's captured me. I think this is down at the first hairpin at Snet, just coming into the corner and getting ready to turn in. And I can't for the life of me remember anyone being stood there because there's a bloody great marshal's hut. But the fact that someone's captured that and there's the concentration, I'm turning in and just trying to get the car through the field. And it's great when you see that. It's just it's something that I hope you guys understand as photographers. Johnny, great comment there, mate. You bring a lot of joy to racers with those pictures. And track day is actually reliving that moment through your artwork.
We have one of the teams on the 116 trophy, and just a quick shout out to them, RL Motor Services. One of the drivers for them, he is so desperate for his photos once the event is finished. If we haven't got him out on the Tuesday, he's straight on to me. Where's the photos? Where are the photos? And he buys every single one I have of him and his car and the team. Nice. Every single one. He just says, "Give me the lot. I'll send you some cash." And he's desperate for it. But he loves it because, like you say, he gets to relive the weekend again 2 days later, basically.
Absolutely.
Well, the thing is, it's
no greater driver.
Just, I'm probably going to knock everything off my mantelpiece here, and it's stuff like this. Look, I've got that is Rockingham, you know, and that is I think that was my second ever race in my Vectra, and like, it's just stuff like that, and that now lives on my mantelpiece. There's one up there. I'm not going to dig it out, but up there I've got my first ever race that I did with T-Mole Motorsport in Ben Smith's Mark II Golf. That's buried in there, but it's there's things that I can look at.
That's the value of it. It's a memory that will last forever.
Well, that is a history, Nick, because Rockingham may be no more. So when you have that photo, you'll receive that photo, you got it, you're like, oh my God, yes, that's me in that race. Now looking back, you're like, that's a piece of history.
Frank Mead. So Frank Mead comments.
That is absolutely the one.
So Frank Mead, the P3N15, we all know what that spells on a pit board.
Yeah.
So it's the famous image. I think we've done it on the podcast before. But that was your first race in the Vectra, wasn't it?
That was my first. So
it was only
4 years
of
building that thing.
Yeah, it was only because I grabbed Frank as he walked by. Hello, Frank. Oh, Frank, grab this, can you? Just see. And it was just timing that I asked Frank Mead, thank you for commenting in, Frank. Thank you for watching tonight. Frank was on the pit wall with his media bib on, and he caught the moment. Nick came past, and I held the penis out to, and there's the perfect image, soaking wet, Nick's Vectra, and me holding out an insult to him, and then giving.
But then you've also got the Silverstone board as well across the start-finish line. Yeah. So again, I love that picture. It's definitely one of my favourites.
And it's fun because it brings back. It's not like a super serious. Oh yeah, you went through the field. It was the fact that it was your first race event. We had so much fun that weekend. We had our trials and tribulations, but ultimately,
it was a pig.
We all
That
came
car
away
did
from that
not want to
weekend.
be raced that weekend.
No, it did not. It didn't even want to be
It really
scrutineered at one point.
No.
But
But
you look
it
at
did.
pictures like that, and it bring again. I go back to what I said previously when Johnny commented. The art that you guys produce brings a lot of, and I hope you guys get as much satisfaction knowing that. And again, I feel that photographers are a key part of motorsport life, hands down.
Well, thank you.
100%.
Much appreciated.
Sorry, Chris.
I was just going to say when I saw Johnny's comment come up, I took it from the opposite end of the scale. I thought that he might have been a photographer and saying that, getting to the end of the day and then checking your photos and seeing the photos that you've got is as enjoyable as racing. And I will, totally confer that sometimes when you get back at the end of the day and you've had a really long day and then you're going through the pictures and you've got a brilliant iconic shot with like flames coming out the back and stuff like that.
Yes.
I've actually, one of the pictures that I sent you was the RX-7, blue RX-7.
Yes. Right.
I've got that printed out and on my wall because it was like, that's it.
Oh, Steve Putt.
Yeah, that's
Steve
it.
Putt's RX-7. Yeah.
When I was going through my pictures after coming back from that day, I was clicking through the pictures and I was absolutely knackered. And I didn't actually know that I caught the flames until I was looking at the pictures on the computer.
Yep.
And I jumped up and I was bouncing around the front room because I was just so excited.
I love that. So a question to you three, obviously, I don't know if you sent it into us or not, but is there any one image that you guys can remember fondly, or the one image that you would call absolute 100% perfection, the best image you've ever done?
Out of around 200,000 photos or so, it's quite difficult.
I agree. I would say I don't have that image yet.
Okay. So moving forward, moving forward from that, then. So what does the future hold for you three? So with what the journey you've been on so far, so what are you guys looking to get towards?
Rob?
I'll start with Rob.
So obviously, I would love to be able to do it as a job. I would love to be able to say that, and I don't mean it in a dreamy way of, one day I'd love to take pictures of Formula One and get paid £100,000 or whatever. I would love to be able to scrape a living doing this, even. I'm in a difficult position because I actually have a fairly decent day job, so it's one of those where I'm almost at a point now where I'm getting so much photography. I don't want to use the word work because it's not always paid. This is the thing. I'm getting so much interest in my photography and people wanting things from me that I'm almost at a point where every minute I'm not doing my actual job, I'm doing photography stuff. And if that, I can't, it'll be a difficult point if that increases, because I can't just suddenly give up the day job. Not for free work anyway, that's for sure. So I don't know what the future holds for me. This may be as good as it gets. But I would love for it to be more. Next week, I'm at Silverstone doing my first ever sort of private commissioned work.
Nice.
Chap called Tony Draper is having a test with Praga in their R1 car that they've built. It was in the Brit car last year. They've got their own series this year. He's having a test at Silverstone next week. He's asked me to come along and take a few photos. He's going to pay me a little bit of money to do it. That'll be my first actual person that's got in touch and asked me to do a shoot for money.
That's good.
So that's where I'm at. Hopefully that's the beginning of more of that. But if not, then so be it. I do it as a passion anyway. So who knows?
I like it.
Okay, Chris, what about yourself? Where do you sit? What's your aim coming from now?
Yeah, I think much the same, really. I'd love to be able to do it. Create a living doing photography. I think the sort of the two main avenues of photography for me is motorsport and music, because it's my two sort of main interests. I think that would work quite well, given the right networks and the right connections. Because obviously you got motorsport generally April till October, and then a lot of the sort of bigger acts that come over from the States seem to be between sort of October and February, March. So it's kind of like
gig season.
Oh yes, absolutely. So
yeah.
If I was able to earn a living, provide for my family, doing just photography and sidestep the day job, that would be absolutely incredible.
And Katie, what about yourself? Because you mentioned earlier in the show about, so predominantly you're not fully focused on motorsport. You have a very wide angle. So what do you do from here? Because you're doing a lot of weddings, track days. You have a very wide demographic. So what does the future hold for you?
The next few seasons going forward, finish this year off, continue with the weddings, just because I support one of my best friend's companies in terms of her weddings. I do my own weddings alongside the track day side and my little babies that I look after and I have to do every event for, alongside other track day companies where I'm very fortunate to shoot for the morning and I get free track access in the afternoon, which I will forever be grateful for, hence how it started in my bag. Yeah, exactly. But again, it's like you guys alongside have said, being in a position where you can't afford it, to be able to make a full-time living off it. I wouldn't be having the track day cars or having that initial foot in the door to doing what I want to do for future without them, because giving you that track time, whatever I've ended up getting, whether it's right, I work for next to nothing, put the effort in, like produce some absolute banging amazing images for these clients because they only run club days, so they're only 24 people on a day or something, but I get that free track time in the afternoon. It's I've got to a point in my career, if you want to call it, where I've got an option, and it's going to be a very difficult option moving forward as to what do I do. It's the famous question, well, what are you going to do next year? Because obviously race season calendars, track day calendars, regardless where it is, track related or motorsport related, doesn't really get announced till November, December, January. So weddings, you can book up for the next 4 or 5 years. So I hold off with all of that and I wait for that December to come and I sit there and I'm like, might not be working till January, June next year. Like you don't have anything definite. And I think for me, I'm a free wolf anyway, but I think the end goal ideally is to be with a race team in an aspect that it's more of a package that you get with me, to provide the media, to provide some sort of team management, because it's happening across the industries, regardless where you look. Weddings, car sales, there's one person doing 3 people's jobs, and I'm not taking away from anything a team principal does in any way, shape or form, but I am very hands-on. I like to spanner, I like to be involved, I like to put a wheel on, I like to do what I can to help. If it means holding a trolley jack, I'll hold a trolley jack, even if I'm photographing and I'm in a pit lane. I want eventually to offer a package where it's KRF photo. It just so happened to be my initials, and that's where we're at with the branding. You hear it, you see it, and you know exactly what I am as a package in a picture. So it's a memorable name, and you know where you're at. How I get there, I honestly haven't got the answer for that. I just hope that I keep doing what I'm doing, and I get noticed enough that actually somebody, don't even have to be a bigwig name, just someone that appreciates me for who I am and what we do and how much effort I can put in, what I can produce you guys as an outcome would take lead above everything else. And I think that's where I want to be, involved with the team and the brand, and the building of a small team up to a big team winning championships would be a dream, just because of the effort that the team put in. It's not just an overnight job. Yes, money is a factor in any sort of motorsport. We've all seen that at your level and above. That's the harsh reality of it. It's exact same for us. Everybody always says, and it's age-old thing, your camera equipment doesn't matter. It's the person behind the camera looking alongside you. We all know that it does matter, because if you haven't got that longer zoom lens, you ain't going to get them shots. You can be creative with your 70-200 or up to 400mm, but you go Silverstone with 300mm, yeah, you're very limited. So it is one of them scenarios where it's like it's an open book, especially for myself having feet in that many pies. But the end goal is motorsport, team related. What level, whether that is media, whether that is team principal, whether that is support, I don't honestly know. I just can only dream. Again, I'm a profession. I'm getting my money from doing this avenue of work. but I still don't know the answer, and I don't think we ever will, because it's such an open-ended creative industry.
I think that's part of the problem, isn't it? Is that none of us can give a straight answer, because you're kind of always waiting for that golden opportunity to just basically appear out of nowhere. Sometimes for some people, it can really just suddenly turn up.
You just never know. You never know what doors are going to open ever. Us three never envisaged the stuff we've managed to do by running this club, for instance. It's bonkers. We could put the same kind of spin in it. Love to be able to give up the day job and do the organisation and focus solely on club racing. But
there's a photographer dude that I know. He just happened on a chance conversation, and he'd gone from basically working as a porter in a kitchen in a hotel to being a full-time professional photographer and getting phone calls saying, "Oh, can you do this weekend for 50 grand?" So it's kind of like,
It's like you were saying earlier, Chris. You do have to rely on some luck, because there is thousands of photographers out there. There's more photographers than there are photography jobs.
Yeah.
And it's not to say if there's 100 photography jobs, they'll go to the 100 best photographers.
Yeah.
No.
It's about reliability, consistency.
Yeah, and I think we need to give you some recognition for that as well, Rob, because saying that you were just a hobbyist during COVID and lockdown, and you were there just along in spectator areas, to be in a season of racing, being offered a season trackside as media, that's good for you. Like, honestly, stick at it. It's a quick turnover for where you've got, and you should be very proud. And it shows with how you're coming across, especially on here as well. You're very genuine, and I think that is obviously what puts you above and beyond a lot of others.
Thank you.
I love that. It's nice to have some positivity among people. There needs to be more. There's too much negativity in this world at the moment. I'm enjoying the positivity. So thank you, guys. Yeah. You've made our evening. It's been a very, very, very good episode. I just want to interject actually with a message from our good friends at Marketing Delivery. What happens when you combine data-driven marketing and software as a service? Marketing Delivery Voice Box, that's why. So get in touch with Marketing Delivery and our friend Jeremy Evans. He can assist you with automatic posting of all your social media to increase your presence on a race weekend. So there
you go, guys.
Marketing Delivery.
Check that out.
And let us know if you want some good photos.
Just back to some comments there before we start to get towards the end of the show. Bloody hell, with an hour and 45 minutes already. It's been a good show this evening, guys. So just back to it. Matt Cleary, my lad, gets more excited about the photos in the race meeting. They're all plastered all over his walls, bless him. Johnny Berry, I've barely finished a race this year, but at this point, I'm in it for the photos.
Keep going, Johnny. You'll get there.
Emma Warner does say, Robert, my SNET photos. Yes, Emma, I know. They were very good. Yes, I will say that. Yeah.
You're in the doghouse.
Yeah, well, no, I've got her dog.
So, Did you just roll your eyes at your sister's comment?
I did, yes. Frank Hall, Katie, you do an amazing job at our charity track days. You deserve all the success in the world. Carl Barton, has Chris done anything with the Silverstone Classic?
Not to date, no. Not
today. Okay. Dave South also comments his 500 mil at Silverstone isn't always enough.
We've all been there.
We've all been there when it's not quite been long enough. Charlie McCready, will any of you three be at Brands Hatch or Silverstone next weekend? I hear Club Racing UK will be at Silverstone with modified Fords. That's not actually next weekend. It is, off the top of my head.
I'm at Snetterton next weekend.
No, Rob, Ford Fair, you tit.
Yeah, Ford Fair. So it's the 14th of August on the Sunday. We're at Ford Fair. So if you are at the Ford Fair show, pop down to the modified Ford stand, which is up by the old pits. We're going to be there with the modified Ford series, all displays, and we're going to be having a bit of track time as well. I believe we've got 2 track sessions.
That's quite a cool location to have, yeah. Old pits. That is going to be quite a cool location.
Yeah, so Ford Fair have approached the modified Fords. We did it last year, and they gave us a big area, put out all the race cars and mine, and basically just show off what the series is all about, and just have a laugh. So, and basically, there's a change of tact in terms of the audience that we want to reach out to get people to actually go club racing is actually very accessible. This is what club racing was all about. It's not hard.
Exactly
Get involved. So yeah, that's something that we're actively going to be promoting this year.
Ford Fair, if there's a ticket knocking around, I can certainly pop in on my way back from Snetterton, on my way home to Gloucester.
I will get back to you, certainly, sir. I will certainly get back to you.
Rob's the ticket man. Rob's sorting us out tickets as well.
We've got tickets. It's fine.
Yay!
Right, summer raffle. Stefan, how are we looking with the Club Racing UK summer raffle? And I believe we've got another tasty competition still going, have we not?
Yes, we have. Blindsided me again, Rob. You know, there's no lead up.
Mate, I'll keep you on your
Send it
toes.
in there.
Yeah.
But before we get to summer raffle, just want to say the usual. If you're watching, to help us beat the social media algorithms, hit that like button, hit the follow, hit the subscribe. It all helps and pushes us further, and will help us grow bigger and better.
It does, honestly. It really helps.
Yeah,
if you do like our content, and you like what we're doing, it's.
If you've ever looked into algorithms and social media, it's very stupid, very annoying,
and it's a minefield.
One like makes a ridiculous difference. So, but anyway, onto the summer raffle. So guys, head to the shop. It's on the website. So you can either buy a single ticket at £5. But there's also a deal on there for 10 tickets for half the price for £25. They're both on there, separate products. So have a look, see what you fancy. The prizes are a fully paid race entry fee up to £400, a track day courtesy of Marketing Delivery, £200 worth of Super Pro products, courtesy of VW Doctor, two £50 custom racewear vouchers courtesy of Turn 7, an Uncle Luke sign and sticker shop surprise bundle, Club Racing UK teamwear t-shirt, and Club Racing UK sticker pack. Obviously, you can't win all them prizes. You'll win, if you're lucky, one of those prizes. But to be in it, you need to buy a ticket. So head to the shop and get yourself one.
That's it.
The other competition we've got running is for our members. So if you haven't seen it before, on our website, you can become a Club Racing UK member. It's either £2 a month or £20 for a whole year. You get cool stuff, extra discounts off multiple of our partners and other stuff, but you also get entered automatically into our members competitions. So the current competition is we've teamed up with BBC, and you can win a full disc and pad setup for your car, obviously dependent on car and setup. I'm not sure they're going to give away a set of BTCC brakes if you're running a British Touring car, but you know they will do one for your Focus. But guys,
you never know.
You
look good on my Mondeo estate.
But the draw will be closing the end of August. Again, you just need to become a member, and you'll be automatically chucked into the draw.
That's
all
it.
on the website, which is not scrolling on the screen anymore.
We've shouted out everybody else's website.
Yeah.
All right. We're great at this.
The only other thing to ask then, as we head towards the end of the show, any other business? No.
I'd like to just very briefly touch on a point that I think it's very controversial, and I've already briefly touched on it earlier.
Ooh, we like controversy.
Female side to motorsport, and I know you guys have said like you've had experiences, blah blah. You've never heard of it. I just think it's been jumped upon on social media and pushed in a very one-sided bias way, and I'd like to voice my opinion. I understand that a lot of the people on here are going to be males. There's a very small minority going to be females, but that's how it is within motorsport still, and will be for a little while to come. That I just feel as though let's just get on with it. Let's just be adults about it all. Let's be honest, females, and I speak for obviously the minority, but again, females in motorsport causes drama. It sometimes can be a very nice and a not nice place to be, but in terms of the females that are involved in motorsport now, it is very cliquey. It's very difficult, and females get put off by that. Yes, Nick.
No.
Females get put off by approaching the industry. They want to get involved, regardless what level. Whether again, I've covered hospitality, grid girl, whatever it might be, photography, support, just coming along, watching, just getting a hand, being a tea caddy, literally anything, being involved with them race cars and in them paddocks, because you haven't got to be in an actual pit lane to be involved in a paddock and a race car and a race team. But I think it does put a lot of people off. And if anyone needs any words of encouragement or any advice, female side, males as well, if you're feeling quite very pansy and detrimental against it, then have a chat with me. I'm happy to have a chat with you, give you options, give you avenues in. And I'd like to be that support for some females that want to get involved. Again, I can't let you come along and photograph with me trackside because there's a lot of health and safety implications with that on my head. But I can certainly recommend you avenues to get in. And I think this might be, especially club series and club avenues of racing, is perfect for that, because you can be involved in that gazebo, you can be involved with the cars, the teams are all nice. They're us, with Joe Blogs, the people that want to be involved, but not so they don't spend 140 grand a year. And I think that's a great place to start. But if anybody would like to message me, please do message me, and I want to put it out there. I'm here to support that as well. Can be males and females, but again, just speaking the female side.
It is ridiculously accessible, club racing. And that's something we are aiming to showcase more next year, like I say, with the direction we're going to be taking the club as well. So honestly, guys, that is our plan. I should just say as well, okay, you're saying about women in motorsport. Obviously, you've watched our episode when we did women in motorsport. Yeah, I mean, that was mentioned a few times, to be fair, that you know, how difficult other people do make it in the industry. But honestly, just, I'm with you on that. It's just,
I know it's the hippie in me, but I wish there was no boxes. You know what I mean? I wish we could just be all human beings.
This is it. It's just,
I think from our lesson, from everything we've done and how we've grown and our partners and everything that we've got on board with this, you know, we've gone so far. We never believed we'd be where we are now, but that is all just from talking to people and being a part of it. But that to one side, being a part of it, it's all just talking to people really and creating connections. You know, you're always going to find people that won't, you know, they don't accept us. You know, they're not going to accept everyone. We found it with quite a few people that just won't accept us for what we do and who we are. You're always going to find the people, but you're always going to find the people that will accept you and will invite you to show what it's all about and help you. So again, if it's something you want to get involved in, it's just keep making those connections, keep talking to people, and you will find the right people that you gel with to get involved.
Yeah. And like you said, obviously tonight's episode is about photography, but that could be anything. You want to go marshalling, you want to go racing, you want to, you know, we get students left, right, and centre saying, I've just come out of a mechanical degree and I'd like to work with some teams. Absolutely anything. You say you're the best tea maker in the world and you want to make tea for the people that are racing at the weekends. Honestly, there are so many different things you can get involved with.
But again, if you haven't already, join the Club Racing UK, the Paddock Facebook group. It is a closed group, but it's a closed group for a reason, so we can...
It keeps the bots out, basically.
Yeah. Keep the bots out, but it makes sure that it's people that are focused on club racing, not just coming in to sell some crap. So, but join it. You got any questions, jump in there. There's a massive group of people that will just answer your question like that. That, you know, we look over it strictly. And there's never ever extremely rare any negativity. I don't think we've ever had to ban anyone and kick anyone out. So it's not like
Well, it's like I noticed earlier there was someone said they're going to Donington for the first time this year, and they asked how the new curbs are, and straight away there's like 50-60 comments of what the new curbs are like at Donington.
Stay away
That's
from
what
them.
it's there for, guys.
Well,
it's just...
on that, I almost wanted to copy in the video I did with the C1 Club, because we saw firsthand what those curbs do to C1 wheels. It splits it right down the middle, round the rim. It was like, Christ. It's crazy. Anyway, it's been a long show. It's been a wonderful show. Thank you so much to our wonderful guests, Katie Rose, Rob Willsmore, and Chris Pearson. This has been our photography episode for Club Racing UK. Yes, Stefan?
If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel and check out our latest video of the Mini when it went to Anglesey. There won't be one
Steph
this
got
week.
third. Steph got third.
Yeah.
I didn't. I come last.
You were stood on the podium with the trophy.
Yeah, Steph got third, but he doesn't want to follow the rules.
I will do it. Don't you worry. Calm
Let's,
yourself down.
next
You have to now.
episode, Steph
Don't need a riot on
Shuey
our hands
and
now,
Nick
do we?
Vaughan. Nick Vaughan, I hope you're watching, Nick Vaughan. We know your results. We know you've done very well.
Yes.
We will
We're
find
expecting
you.
a video.
We will find
Yeah, we
you,
are.
and we
One
will
comment
make
at the
you
start,
drink
and then you've gone
alcohol
very
from your
quiet,
shoe.
Nick.
Yeah, he's hiding now. He's sanitising his race boot because he knows he has to do his shoey. It's got to be done, Nick. We know. Anyway,
We've also
guys.
hang on.
All
We've
right.
also got some
here.
updates coming from the Vectra, and we've got a video coming from Alton Park when our ambassador Dan Thackeray took on the Civic Cup. So that'll be coming soon.
Cool.
I just wanted
No,
to
Hell
say
yes.
Castlecombe this weekend. Got the TCRs going to be there, and obviously all the local heroes are going to be there. And
Hell
then I
yes.
got Snetterton next weekend for touring cars. I'm just there for qualifying day, so like I say, I'll pop into Silverstone if needs be on Sunday.
Let's get it sorted.
There we go, guys. So, from myself, your host, Robert Lewis, with Nick Holmes and Stefan Marsh of Club Racing UK, and our wonderful guests have been Katie Rose, Rob Willsmore, and Chris Pearson. It's good night from us, the Club Racing UK podcast.
Thanks, guys.